My name's Keegan Odell. I'm 28. I've been in health and fitness for about 10 years. I actually, growing up, I was a competitive sports player. I played everything. Most specifically, I was a competitive skier, ski racing, and I did that all through my younger childhood. I went to a couple private academies for that, competed in like junior level Olympics, pretty high level even at a young age, and was always highly competitive. And that was kind of not even the entrance of my health and fitness journey. I was just young, really good at sports. So, down the line there in my teens, I actually ended up doing bad things, making bad decisions, and I lost those opportunities. I got expelled from one of the academies, came back into public high schools. And when I had gone away to those academies, I was the leader, high level on the sports teams. When I came back, I didn't have any of that. All those friends, all those people that used to look up to me were like, oh, what a loser, what a douchebag. So kind of naturally, I fell in with the other crowd, making more bad decisions. I got into drugs and had substance abuse problems for many years in my teens. So all that opportunity in sports that I had initially didn't exist anymore. I actually, I almost failed out of high school. I ended up going to 4 or 5 high schools. Can't remember, because I actually got in a car accident in 2011 amongst all my trouble era, and I broke my neck. And it was a pretty rough one. But that accident really changed my life. It's like the screw that had been loose for those couple of years tightened back up a little bit. So because of that, I couldn't continue in high school. I'd missed so much time from the injury. I was out for 6+ months, and they ended up going to a charter academy, which is I would go to school on a computer in a room somewhere, downtown, go in, do like 4, 5, 6 hours on the computer. And I actually couldn't even handle that, just like taking direction and being a student. I was never really good at anything except for agricultural mechanics when I was in high school. And at one point, I went to trade school, and it was Universal Technical Institute. They came to the charter school I was at before I left and went to like education at home. And they did their little presentation. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go be a mechanic. So as soon as I graduated, I moved from my hometown of Dalton or Littleton, New Hampshire, to Norwood, Massachusetts. And I started going to school down there. And I still the gym wasn't a thing yet. I had a girlfriend at the time. And I still, was goofing around, like, doing drugs a little bit, drinking all the time, like every night of the week, to be honest, at some point. So I got better with not getting in trouble, but some of those bad habits I kept and maintained for a little while. And so that school was basically year round. You got like maybe 2 weeks off a year totaled. And the biggest break was 1 week for Christmas. And at that time, I had taken that vacation, planned it out, or so I thought, with my employer. I was doing like parts delivery for an auto parts store. Left, drove 3 hours home to New Hampshire, and got a call from my boss like on the Monday, like the day or two before Christmas or whatever it was. Like, where are you? What do you mean? I'm at home, I'm on vacation. Oh, you were supposed to be here, blah blah blah. I got fired. And in that same week, I found out my girlfriend at the time had been cheating on me actively while I was home. And the only reason that she spent time with me while I was home was because she felt bad, whatever. And I caught her cheating on me before I left to go back to school that same week. So after that, the downward spiral kind of started back up again. I had no motivation, just struggling again, just going a steady decline. And I have a really good friend. His name's Brian, and he was a bigger guy. He wanted to go and get into the gym, start losing weight, and he had convinced me to go with him. So I did. And basically, the way I say the story is, I went that first day, and I have never missed a day since. that was literally the start. It was the end of 2013, the winter of into 2013. And it just went up from there. So, in the gym a couple weeks, it might have only been 2 months. And I walked into GNC to get my first supplements for training. And they offered me a job. Because I started making like results. I got really, really big into the dieting and nutrition. One of the first things I ever did was Jim Stepani's Shortcut to Shred and Shortcut to Size, those two programs that he had on bodybuilding.com back in the day. And that's what I did. I got the job at GNC, worked there for a while, dove into the supplement education like crazy, and continued coaching myself for a couple of years, probably 4 years, and then 3-4 years. And I decided I wanted to be a personal trainer. Got my NASM cert and took a job at LA Fitness. And at that point, I had been making enough results. Like I was always the guy at those little gyms I would go to. I would know everybody, because I was performing, always on top of things, like working hard. And so I'm like, I want to take this to another level and train clients, because everyone was asking me for help already. It was being suggested. So I went to LA Fitness, and I probably lasted 3 months before I quit there too, because I got into that box gym kind of salesy culture where it's just you're making no money, working all these hours, just trying to get numbers in, putting people that are trusting in you for, their health and wellness through a 30-40 minute session and giving no benefit outside of there. And so that was 2016, 2017. I got to think about my timelines now because I've been doing this so long. And I left that and I just started doing my own thing. And I've been doing my own thing ever since. Coached myself all the way up until 2021. 2019, I did my first show and I had a mentor. So he kind of coached me through the whole process. I did my first bodybuilding show, Natural. I won the novice category, got third in the open. And then from there, I took bodybuilding to the next level. So since 2019 and up has been a lot of bodybuilding, basically all bodybuilding, and competed again in 2021. I worked with Dominic Cardone, who's like a pro level coach. Did pretty well. I got second in Connecticut Grand Prix. And the next show was a wash. But I put on 30 plus pounds of muscle from 2019 to 21. My first show, I was 184 on stage. My second show, I was 217 on stage. And in the off season, I was 240. So that was kind of the journey to get to where we are now, which things have changed since then. That car accident, I broke my neck. So for a lot of years, I've struggled with chronic neck injuries, back problems. For years, since like 2016, I've had problems and going to chiropractors and all this and all that. So this last about a year and a half ago now, I finally, after 2021 competing, I had a major flare up. Couldn't get out of bed anymore, just struggling, pain. And I've been a heavy equipment diesel mechanic for about the same length of time, a decade. And after going to specialists, I've been dealing with this for years already. I'd already seen specialists. They finally identified that I had a fracture in my L5. So dual sciatic impingement, some minor herniations in the disc, some degradation, like loss of bone mass in my tailbone, L4 and L5. And I took 6 months off going into 2022, like off everything, didn't even walk in the gym for months. And at that time I thought I was done. Like I'm done bodybuilding. I don't think I can do this anymore, which is a hard kind of thing in my head, to accept. Like, this is what I want to do. This is what I love doing. I love competing. I love pushing the limit, being a guy that was deadlifting 500 plus per rep, squatting 500 plus per reps, and I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do it again. And while that may be very true, I'm probably not going to be doing that ever again. But at least now I switched careers. I moved from Massachusetts and Rhode Island to Tampa, Florida. And now I'm in real estate on top of my coaching business. And I am actually about to lock into a prep here right now for the first time since 2021.
What activities, if I multiply this by a year, what's that going to look like? If I multiply this, bad thing or this good thing by 5 years, where am I going to be because of that? And I think that's, outside of fitness, outside of bodybuilding, I think that's such a powerful thing to do.
Absolutely. And there's a negative to that process, and I've coined it living in a box. Living in a box. Head down. Going for the goal. And the last 4, almost 5 years for me, what was that? And I was in a relationship, a very serious one. That was about almost 3.5 to 4 years in total. And that was from 2019, my first show, competitive season in that year, all the way up until a year ago. Right around now that it finally ended. And the last competitive season, in combination of I was working, I was on the road diesel mechanic for a drilling and blasting company. So I was in a big truck with a crane working. I mean, I did a whole entire year off season straight into prep. So basically almost a year and a half, 2 years totaled, working 70 plus hours a week, 80 hours a week, sleeping 4 hours a night, dealing with my relationship. And in the last year was just a horrible place across the board. And the one thing that I had, in the front line was I was competing. I had the competition, I had that goal, and it kept me going. And because it was a prime focus, and like the gym is therapy, right? Like a lot of us use it for a place to de-stress and let go. But at the same time, I've recognized this, greatly in the last couple of years that it just like anything, it can become a coping mechanism that takes away from the positive aspect to the outside of it, the rest of your life. We're so honed in, we're so focused that it can literally turn into your everything, and you kind of forget the world around you. And I am a humble guy, and I can say, like, with my most recent relationship failure, that it didn't help. Because I was in severe depression, struggling, stress, trying to work this job, making good money, but spending a lot, working a lot, and the gym was the outlet for all of it. The bad stuff going on at home, the stress in life. And it took, all the way up a lot of last year to kind of get back to being my normal again and making the realizations that, yes, this is a passion. Yes, this is a positive thing to do, but you need to have a life around it, and you need to be able to see forward. Where am I going? Where am I going after this? Where is this, realistically bringing me? We need to have an end game, an end result, something that, like, yes, we're working towards a goal, but that one goal has another goal after, and a bigger picture, to our life.
Mm.
So, that was a big learning experience for the last specifically 2 years for me, for sure, in this.
That's an interesting, perspective for sure. I never really thought about it. Just because you have a goal doesn't necessarily, even if that goal is good and in terms of like, it's going to be positive if I achieve this goal, whether that's losing weight, getting ready for a competition and placing in a competition or whatever, like that could be a good thing in and of itself. But, I never thought about how does that actually translate into the future.
Right. And I think, like, specifically, like when we're talking about bodybuilding, it's a real thing, because the goal is the show, the show, the show, the show. Everything is in preparation and driving for the show. And then after you get off that stage and you go home, the show is over. So everything we have dedicated at, like, all our time and effort into is now non-existent. And for some people, that can easily become a negative equation, and you go into like the post-show blues. And if you're in a negative mental spot beforehand, coming on the exit is equally, if not harder, because you go out and start eating or all these little things, then your physique doesn't look the same, you're no longer shredded, you're not happy, you're not comfortable, and it's kind of like a rebound of negative compounding potentially if you're not in the headspace or prepared for it. And that can go with realistically any goal. And I mean, relationships and the people that are around you are absolutely important to have the right people in your circle. And if you don't, you go through a situation like I did. Like, while I did some negative in my situation, but if it was truly the right person, would it have happened that exact way? Maybe not. But how many times do we focus so hard on these things and ignore the other aspects of life, the other enjoyments of life, and we burn ourselves to a crisp in the process, and you don't have any more emotion to put back out into all those other things. And now it's all over, and you're like, who am I? Where am I? What do I do from here? You know, what am I doing next? I don't even know.
Bodybuilding is, you know, to me, it has so much value and it has so much potential for people to like add value to their lives, you know, give them order in their life, give them like a goal, give them something to strive for and to achieve. And all those are positive things. But like at the end of the day, kind of like you're talking about, if you're giving up everything else, if you're giving up your, you know, your family, your friends, you know, just the small things that you enjoy in life, there has to be some kind of like, once I hit the goal that I'm striving for, I'm going to be rewarded for that, not just more of the same. And you know, you can be passionate about like the grind and be passionate about, I love the process, I love the lifestyle, but at the same time, is that you have to, I think it's a hard question to ask yourself, but is that actually adding to the, you know, the overall, I don't want to necessarily even use the word happiness, but is that adding to the overall like life experience, I guess?
Right, right. And you know, like you said, it's double-sided, because what bodybuilding has done for me as far as my ability to focus, set structure in my life, have routines built out, and all those things, I would have never accomplished half of the things I've accomplished without it. But on that same flip side, being in those positions and like, you know, embrace the grind, absolutely love it. I love to put in the work and go all in. But when, you know, and it's all person dependent, because there are people that have, like, I have an addictive personality. I do. I had substance abuse problems for years, and I'm still an addict. The only difference is I switched my addiction to something that benefits me, my life, fitness, the gym, bodybuilding. That's my addiction, you know, and that's what I can keep myself grounded with and keep me in a better place. So arguably, you know, doing that is 10 times better than the worst things you could be doing out in life. But the mental health aspects, like, there's a reason why a lot of these guys end up being in very small circles, because there's only a certain box of people that truly understand it. You know, all your regular friends that you went to school with, you know, college, coworkers, oh, you coming out this week? And oh, you're going to come drink with us. You're going to come hang out. No, I'm not. You know, and the true ones will support you and stand by. But a lot of them that are just all about the fun, they just can't understand. And it can become very like isolated. It's a selfish sport. And, you know, with the being selfish thing, and like, you know, my previous relationship was like, all you care about is this, you know, you're just selfish. That's all you care about is you. Well, nobody else is getting on the stage for me. No one else is putting in the work for me. And it makes me feel good. But at the same token, you need to be selfish in order to give yourself, you know, to give yourself and put yourself out there for anyone else. You need to know who you are and how you operate. And I think now one of my, you know, the biggest things I keep a focus on is going all in, you know, and giving it my all when I'm in the gym with my training and my nutrition, but allowing myself to still like have some looseness in like living a real life and having quality and socializing and all these things. You can't just live in a box 24/7. You need to have your goal. And the thing that keeps us, you know, on track with our goal is the developed routines that we set in place to streamline that. And in those routines, there should be periods of time where we take that focus off of ourselves and now focus on our life, like, you know, just life as a whole and in general. Go do something different, you know, go spend time with somebody you don't spend time with. Keep yourself grounded to the real world and not just in the box that, you know, you've put yourself in for whatever your dedicated purpose is.
Are you looking for a supplement company that can help take your fitness game to the next level? Look no further than All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Their cutting-edge supplements are scientifically formulated to give you the edge you need in the gym and in life. Whether you're looking to build muscle, increase endurance, or boost recovery time, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has you covered. And with a wide range of products designed for people of all levels, you're sure to find the perfect supplement for your needs. So why wait? Give your body the support it deserves with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit their website today to learn more and start achieving your fitness goals. Yeah, very early on in this podcast, talking to several people who were a little bit older. I think they were more in the powerlifting world, but they were talking about how they see people who kind of like age out a little bit, phase out of like the competitive side of powerlifting, and then they don't really know what else to do. They don't have any other like interests, or and it's almost like this time of it's really hard for them because that's what they've done their whole life. That's what they put everything into.
And that's like in like after my competitive season, all like I spent the last year pretty much in isolation. I had some extremely negative, things that were going on with relationships and fallouts, and I didn't even know who I was anymore. To be perfectly honest, I spent 2 years going all in. All I did was bodybuilding and deal with the stresses in my life. And after, the show was over, my injuries were preventing me from continuing that kind of level. And I was just dealing with more negative things in my personal life because of my own situation and what I put into it, and just it not being the right environment as a whole. It took me a year to kind of finally pull back out and find myself again and make these realizations where now my big thing when it comes to like coaching and health and fitness is performance lifestyle. And that's where I currently live. Like in a lot of my clients, I coach a performance lifestyle. Yeah, we can call it like bodybuilding to a level, but we're not competing. Maybe we're taking PEDs, maybe we're not, and we're still grinding hard towards a specific goal and putting a high level of effort into it, but we're doing it in a way that allows us to still live and not be in that isolated box and still have room to kind of go out of the box and experience other things and live a normal life with that performance goal in mind.
Kind of going back in time though a little bit, you were talking about when you first started to get into the gym. What was your mindset? Like where were you at mentally at that point thinking, I'm going to start this new thing. I'm going to, because a lot of people, the gym is maybe a little bit of an environment of like nervousness, anxiety, did you have any of that, or like what were your thoughts? What was your mental state kind of going back and growing into the gym, I guess, and in starting this new thing, because you had this experience and these some of these experiences of starting something new and maybe it turning negative. Did you have any fear of that with the gym?
No, because I mean, I was in control. And, I when I came into the gym, I was coming from a negative place. I was depressed. I was down. Nothing was going right in my life. I was in school, which I didn't give a shit about. I did, but I didn't. It's not like, oh, this is, the fucking happiest day. Part of my day is going to class, and I was miserable. And I found very quickly that, once I got into the gym, I progressed very quickly. And I've always had the leadership mentality. I've always just kind of given off that energy. And, it could have been a month, it could have been 2 months where I was in the gym and I had people like coming up to me saying, dude, like you're a beast. You're training like crazy. Like, how'd you learn this? How'd you learn that? And in all reality, I hadn't learned anything at that time. I was just, I had the bodybuilding.com app. I read through Jim Stepani's stuff. I liked it. I applied it, and it worked. And it just became something of, it was a positive every time. There wasn't a day that I didn't go into the gym, no matter how I was feeling, that I wasn't coming out of there with a reward. You had a bad day, you feel like shit, you go in the gym, you pump yourself up, your endorphins go up, everything feels good, everything was great, and I accomplished something. And honestly, like for a lot of people, that's all it should take. You're feeling down, you're feeling negative, go exercise, and I found very quickly that it was easy to make friends and build relationships in the gym, just with how I am naturally as a person, and relating with other people in the same struggles. And it's, a motivating environment. And a lot of people look at it as an intimidating environment, especially when they're new. And I can see it. You got a guy like me in there who's, jacked, tatted up. I got resting bitch face. I'm not always smiling. I can happily say that. But if I see somebody in the gym who looks like they're in doubt, questioning something, struggling, or if somebody approached me, you're getting the best. You're getting the best of me right then and there. And 9 times out of 10, the people that I know that have come from that, thought process where it was scary or whatever, especially at some of the more performance level gyms that I've trained at and been to, and they find real quick, they start talking to people, or asking a question, or somebody like myself, and their mind it's completely changed. Like, wow, everyone in here is so supportive, so nice. And that's really what it is. There's a very small percentage of actual dickheads in the gym. And I love that. Very much so. It is a positive environment. It's as positive as you make it.
I think it is interesting the people or the kinds of people that are almost like naturally attracted to the gym, to go to the gym, right? You have something, I think it's a unique place because something I think calls you there a lot of times for most people. It's not just like I ended up here, I don't know how. It's I needed a place. I needed a community, or I needed something to put my focus and my energy into for whatever reason, whether that is,
Yep.
Maybe they're a parent and they need some time for themselves, or maybe they struggle with, alcohol or substance abuse and they need to almost like put themselves into that environment and or that community or whatever it is. Like there's just so many people I've talked to where the gym, it's not just like this physical location. It's more of almost like you're putting yourself into almost like a spiritual location, I guess.
Yeah. There's multiple fields of people in there. There's a lot of people with problems. A lot of people are in the gym because they have problems, whatever they may be. Like you said, substance abuse. I came from that. Depression, anxiety, mental health issues. I came from that too. And I've dealt with and struggled with that for many years, in recent years. And it's a never ending battle. But, for a lot of those people that really latch onto it and experience that, they find that this is an environment that can keep me grounded. There's always something positive that should come out of it. And a big part of that is in your mind. Mindset is everything. But, there's a direct correlation with the environment, and going through those motions and doing something to benefit yourself and all those things. And, nowadays we have a couple other crowds where it's just cool to go. But you can 9 times out of 10, I feel like you're in the gym, you can look around and you can pick the people out who are there with a specific reason. I'm in Tampa, Florida. So like I train at MI40. If you're a bodybuilder with a bodybuilding mindset, you're going to walk into that gym on any given day, and there could be half a dozen pros in there at all times. You're going to tell me that you're not going to walk in there and see that and feel that and read that and be fueled off of the environment alone. You're lying to me. There's like visual motivation, and it's all in the atmosphere. As long as someone's going in there with a purpose for themselves and a positive mind and an open mind, absolutely, you're going to benefit from where you are at 100%.
Right. And so when you actually started to go to the gym, I know you said that you were kind of going off of these bodybuilding.com programs and stuff, but did you have an actual, like, other than that, did you have this like vision, or did you have this idea of like what you wanted to do other than just like go in, get in and do this to the best of your ability?
I mean, in all reality, in the beginning, it was like, I'm going to show that bitch, like, just wait and see. Cause like I was never like, I was always, a husky, moderately muscular guy. But I mean, I pull up my old photos. Like I didn't have like biceps. I didn't have any majorly developed muscle. I mean, I spent multiple years in my teens doing drugs and partying, and that was it. So, skinny fat physique. And the biggest thing for me was just the mental benefit and just the feeling like, and being able to excel at something and have a positive response every time. And obviously, like, looking better, feeling better, and the confidence level like skyrocketed. So like my Instagram name, the confidence coach, I coined that like way, way back in the beginning of all this before I even thought about bodybuilding, maybe kind of when I first started, thinking about being a personal trainer, because I was extremely confident in myself, in my abilities, and what I knew how to do in the gym. And I mean, I followed Jim Stepani stuff in the beginning, and I took those couple programs and I implemented it into my own methodology and coached myself all the way up to date, with the exception of hiring, coaches for prepping, and I learned things I did and did not like from those experiences as a whole. But the level of confidence that I was building and just feeling better about myself, and that growth alone was a real driver in that. The initial was like, the initial was that, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna show my ex-girlfriend, she's gonna be pissed when she sees me in a year and how I look and how well I am. And that was the case. I mean, down the road she messaged me again like, oh, you look so great. And I'm like, yeah, great, thanks, bye. So that was a win, but it was a confidence factor for sure. Like just the mental health, the mental growth aspect.
And did you find yourself, because you were gaining confidence, you were having, I guess, this feeling of like achievement and knowing that you can do something and do it well and you can be successful at it. Did that like, were there certain people in your life that, that you had around before that started to maybe have certain negative feelings towards you, or like, I don't, they didn't necessarily support the person that you were becoming because maybe it made them feel bad about themselves?
No, I feel like I didn't get a lot of that. I feel like I got a lot more of the opposite. And I mean, to be honest, over the last 10 years, some of the best friends I've made and people I've met are all through health and fitness, and in my personal life, and people I grew up with or know from the past that I didn't associate with for years, as time went forward and they saw me doing that and progressing and, getting better and becoming like a strong base of knowledge that I was giving out to everyone else, that I had those kind of people reach back out into my life, and ask for help or ask me questions or just even say like, wow, man, you have turned your life around like so much, it's freaking amazing, like, and that kind of things. I didn't really suffer a lot of negativity from it. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that thought I was a douchebag or, because, Keegan's in the gym and he's got abs now and he shows them off all the time. Like, of course I did. I was also the guy in the gym with lifting gloves for, quite a while, probably. I wouldn't say years, but I had lifting gloves and my chain around my neck back in the day. And I would laugh at that right about now, but we all started somewhere, and it's just the growth pattern. I mean, we all start and work our way up and develop that greater level of confidence and then learn from our journey. We can look back and take away pros and cons and then reapply that as we move forward into the next level. And I did not receive anything negative from it, and I almost don't want to say it. And it's like the first negative experience I started to receive from health and fitness was when I started bodybuilding, in all reality. And maybe not specifically bodybuilding of it itself, but where I put myself in it, like we were just talking about a little bit ago. I went all in. I lived in the box. I had no friends. For a while, I was like, I had my girlfriend at home. We were good sometimes, but had problems most of the times. And I did nothing else. And the biggest part is your mental health. And, I struggled with my mental health for years before I came into fitness, and fitness changed my mental health positively. And then even down the line with the compounding stress of life and fitness, there is still a realm where it can be negative. I firmly agree and believe with that. Like we were saying, you make it your everything and your only thing. What else is thereafter?
Yeah.
And with the bodybuilding side of things and like those super serious, strict goals, if you are struggling with it, like I'm firm on this now, like, anabolics, anything. If you're struggling with a mental health issue beforehand, you need to fix that first, right? For the general purpose of going to the gym and get healthy, do that. Absolutely. Start doing something positive for you and your body. But you want to compete, step on a stage, take it to a high performance level, and you're wallowing and struggling in a depressive state, don't do it. You want to take steroids and you struggle with depression and anxiety actively, don't do it. There's some major negative compounding that can come from that type of stuff, which, I mean, if we're looking at the big picture, it's the complete opposite of what we're trying to do.
Looking for a supplement company that's as serious about your fitness goals as you are? Allsport Pharmaceuticals is here to help. Their top-of-the-line supplements are designed to help you get the most out of every workout with ingredients that have been scientifically proven to enhance performance and recovery. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out on your fitness journey, Allsport Pharmaceuticals has the perfect supplements to help you achieve your goals. Plus, with their commitment to quality and safety, you can trust that you're getting a product that's both effective and reliable. So what are you waiting for? Take your fitness game to the next level with Allsport Pharmaceuticals. Visit the website today to learn more. For you, how did you actually get into, like, who introduced you to bodybuilding? Like, was it just this natural thing for you? Oh, it sounds great. Did you have any hesitancy or what was that like for you?
So my ex-girlfriend had, she had talked about wanting to do a competition, and she had met a good friend of mine, Jose, at the gym. And he had offered to like kind of help her and coach her, and we ended up deciding kind of together and like, yeah, I want to do that. I'll do this. I'm going to do it too, because I was already like interested. I was natural for my first shows. Like I was never a bodybuilding fan before that, but I had already, I had gone through some pretty high levels of education and trial and error through fitness. I did some pretty performance level keto dieting. I did it for 2 years straight, and tried all sorts of different methods, bulking, cutting, and, that was the next way to go for me. And so did the show together, and it went really well. And it went well enough for me that I was told by, my mentor, Jose, multiple other people that I knew personally in the kind of space from the gym, if you want to take this somewhere, I would strongly consider it. I was at a level, naturally at, 25 is when I made the switch into, super supplements that call it pretty much maximize my potential there if I wanted to take it to the next level in a short period of time. And so I went from that first show and pretty much was all into bodybuilding ever since. I loved it. I love the ability of progression, in the challenge. But like, as we said, there are negatives in there. And it doesn't mean doing it is directly a negative thing, but there can be negative scenarios depending on what you're dealing with in life. Like, there are times to compete and not to compete. And I can tell you right now, with my last competitive season and experience, working 70 hours a week, sleeping 4 hours a night, dealing with anxiety and depression and in a negative relationship isn't a good time to compete. But I did it anyways because I had committed, well before, and I ended up doing very well. And would everyone have done as well as I did in that environment, in those situations? Maybe not. But if there's one thing that I can commend myself on is when I go in, and I'm not a quitter. I don't give up. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And it's through and through, and I've never been a complainer. I worked manual labor and long hour job. Like, I worked overtime my whole life kind of thing. Since I started my career as a diesel mechanic in the beginning, when I went to school, be working out of the house. I was out of the house 20 hours a day through the 3.5, 4 years of school I went through, between working a job and going to class and going to the gym, and wake up, go to school at like 6 a.m. till whenever it ended, 2 o'clock, go to work till like 8, 9 o'clock at night, leave work, go drive 30 minutes, go to LA Fitness, work out till, I used to close out the gym when I was young. Now I'm like, 10:30. I'm going to the gym now. Yeah, right, dude. I'm gonna be dead. But yeah, I used to close out the gym, 3 hour gym sessions, like all the young knuckleheads spending way too much time in there that may or may not be ideal. Um, it was a good ride, but that's really how it started was, my ex and I decided to do it to, do a show, and I decided to do it too. And I continued ever since.
Yeah, it's funny like what we can almost do when we don't know that we shouldn't do something. Like when we don't know that it's not like a sometimes I think if with the more we
We
know,
don't know the risk.
right, we don't know the risk. We don't know that like people shouldn't do that. And then we just do it. And it's like, oh, I survived that. And then you learn a little bit about like what you went through. And it's like, oh crap, I can't believe like that I was doing that. Not just once, but for a long period of time, just over and over and over. And it's almost like you need that experience and you need to like almost know what you're capable of. Because then when you learn that and you're like, okay, well, if I was capable of that, then I know I can go really hard and do really great work at almost like a reduced version of that.
Right. Yeah. Well, and the biggest takeaway is learning what doesn't work for you, in all reality. I did it and I was highly successful, but looking back, like, what if I slept 8 hours every night? How much better could I have been? Would I have won both shows in a row? If I wasn't working 80 hours a week, same thing. How much better would my mental health have been? Would any of those problems, would they have been as bad? We don't know. But I learned now, on the flip side, thereafter, when you're going through the process of let's do this again, like right now, I pretty much today decided I'm locking into a 12-week prep. Call it a short period of time, but my physique wise and where I'm at, I can absolutely do it. But I'm also in a whole different state as far as mental health, my daily life. I work in real estate now, my day job, on top of my other businesses, and it's a completely different situation and scenario. And I've already done it the hardest way. I've done it the hardest way possible and was successful. So, like you said, now it's like we're doing it again at a almost lesser level with the same approach, the same level of effort and intensity. It's going to be a much better scenario the second time around. But you might have to, like you said, we learned some of that the hard way. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's almost sometimes the only way we as humans do learn is like going through that personal experience as much as we can read it in a book or have somebody tell us, we still have to sometimes make that mistake and do the wrong thing for some reason to get it through our minds. That's such a big difference between us and computers. It's like we can tell a computer that, don't do that. Like we're going to program you not to do that, not to have that thought, if you will, or 2 + 2 = 4. So, don't make the mistake. But then with us, it's like, until we make that mistake, it doesn't get programmed into us a lot of times.
Right. Well, and it's 50 too, because there's the side of us that's the way it is. We got to do it and we got to learn. And then there's the other side of us that it's too risky and won't even do it to begin with. And when you think about life and growth, I mean, are you better staying on the conservative side and not taking the risk and not going through the experience to put yourself ahead in the long run and going through the struggle? Or are you better having gone through the struggle, learning all the negative things about you, yourself, and whatever the process of what it is we're doing, and learning from that, forward?
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
Yeah. And I think that's such a huge part of life in general, like that's like a big question of uncertainty and fear, not being able to like have the answer. Just, is it going to work out? I think one of my favorite questions that you often hear people ask, like in a motivational setting, is like, what would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail? And you ask anybody that question and it's like, oh, well, I would, I would be an astronaut, or I would be a doctor, I'd be an NBA player, whatever their response is. But then it's like, well, why don't you do it? And really the only reason is uncertainty and fear. And some people are
Because I
willing to
don't
take
know.
that risk and some people aren't.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think in the bodybuilding world, it attracts a lot of people who are willing to take more risk, who are willing to sacrifice and to, you know, I don't want to say like make it the thing in their life, but a lot of people do. They make it the biggest thing and sometimes the only thing in their life. And it's actually interesting. I was talking to a fitness pro, a fitness Olympian, and she was talking about herself, and I was like, it's interesting because you talked about your family, and then you talked about your career, and then you talked about bodybuilding. And she was like, yeah, because those other two things are the two most important things in my life. It just also, I am a bodybuilder. And so many people who will probably maybe never reach the Olympia stage don't see that. They don't understand that. They can only be this like one-minded kind of like robotic person about bodybuilding. And maybe that is the difference for some people, is that it's too much of that one thing. And if they gave themselves a little bit of something else, they would succeed and excel more in bodybuilding. But you
Right.
never, because you can only do it
It
one way. You
just
can only do it one time, really.
it comes down to recognizing the situation as a whole. I mean, I want a pro card. I want to be a pro. I want to go to the Olympia. Well, how long do you go all in on something until you decide, I've been doing this for this long? This is where I'm at. This is what I have done. This is what I haven't done. Where do we kind of make the realization of maybe now is the time to move on? Or, whether that means I'm not going to stop going to the gym, but maybe I don't care about getting a pro card anymore. I want to live a happy life. I want to live a healthy life. I want to go on 4 vacations a year. If my buddy says, hey, Saturday we're going out, I want to do that. And if you're, depending on your goal set of whatever it is, like, you're not doing those things. And, it's not to say that there aren't people out there doing it and doing it positively. I mean, there absolutely are. But for the majority, they set the goal high. But, when the goal is high and you're not, coming close to it, after extended periods of time, let's reanalyze those goals.
Right.
And reanalyze them from a standard of maybe we do something different, like different completely, like switch ourselves right out of this position, or maybe we kind of downgrade it and go to a lesser level. Like, my thing was like, I'm 5'9", well into the 200s. If I want to compete, I was competing in open heavyweight. I am the shortest guy in open heavyweight in almost every show I've done so far. And I because I'm too tall for 212. And I'm too short to stand next to a 6'3" guy who's got 20 pounds on me. It's
Right.
not a good battle for me. So it's like, okay, in order for me to take my goal of being I want to be a pro bodybuilder and get to that level, I have to go to the absolute extremes to get there because of my physique and where I'm coming from. In my opinion, I got to go all in. Where, okay, you know what? Is that worth it to me? Because you're putting your health on the line, you're putting your mental health on the line, all health on the line, and your life. Maybe it's a better value of where, you know what? I'm not going for open bodybuilding anymore. I'm dropping into light heavyweights, which is exactly what I'm going to do because I had to downsize from my injury, and see how it goes this time around. And now you try it at a different level, same level of effort and intensity with a different mindset, different approach. And let's say we do it this time around and we get real close to getting there. Okay, now we justify, is it worth continuing at this? We're real close. We might be there. We do this one more time. We might get that pro card. Okay, well, do a little bit of soul searching and make that decision, because if you're reaching, 15 lengths ahead for this pro card in one class, that is just that much more level of risk and effort. Or you can kind of reanalyze yourself and your personal goals and be like, you know what, I'm already 5 steps closer to this side of things. Why don't we try that? Maybe your life as a whole will be much better, much less stress. Because stress on both sides, life, physical, mental. I mean, we got to consider all the factors, at some point. How long do we try until we decide, let's try something else? And a lot of people, they end up trying too long.
Yeah. And I think going back to what you said before, I think it's an addictive personality a lot of times that wants something that they can't have. And even when you just said, like, you said all in, something within my brain, like something just sparked it and it was like, oh yes, let's go all in. Even though like you're just telling me all the negatives, just those two words to me are just almost like, it was almost like a hit. It was like, wow, all in, let's go all in.
One of my friends that I developed over the years, like with bodybuilding, older guy, and he was telling me, he's like, you've done this so far, and this is where you've gotten, this is how old you are. This is kind of like, the time to really consider. We're going all in every time, regardless of the goal. You shouldn't be setting a goal and half-assing it. You go all in. If you're going to really set a goal like to accomplish, you go all in. But it's where we, make the realization where we went all in. This is where we landed. Now, okay, if we're close, we give it one more shot and we go all in. You give it one more shot and you nail it. Awesome. You do it again and you get just as close or not even as close, then maybe we should kind of reconsider our goal sets and go all in on something else potentially. It's all situational. It depends on what we're talking about, but it's not worth putting the rest of your life at risk, for something in the now, in my opinion. The goal that I'm accomplished right here in the next, 12 weeks, 3, 4, 5 months is going all in on that so hard that it burns me out for the next 6 months after. Worth it? Depends who you're talking to. Yeah. But from what I've experienced in life already and what how I look at life now, probably not. Not for me. Not anymore. In the past, yep, we're going to do it. We're going to try it. And you wouldn't even think about the after effect. We don't even consider that. We're like, that's the goal. That's it. We're doing it. Boom. As we get older, we mature more. A lot of guys my age have families, kids, all these other things, careers. You need to start looking at the bigger picture and everything around you and not just what you want to do sometimes, I feel like, as far as like a specific goal when it comes to like bodybuilding, especially. Yeah. I think that's extremely important. Going back to the personality thing, there is a detriment in having some of that addictive, driven personality as somebody who's in sports, and that's their thing. I mean, I hate to use this example, but like Tom Brady and Giselle, right? Would they have gotten divorced if Tom Brady decided not to, go back one more time, kind of thing?
Yeah.
Maybe so, but that mentality is embedded in that man, in that person,
right?
As an athlete, as what they've created themselves, because it's everything they know, everything they've worked for, and realistically, everything that's kept them grounded throughout their entire life. So there's like a major personal growth factor in being able to change yourself a little bit in that way. Because I mean, I did the same thing. If I didn't do that last bodybuilding show and, decided, what, nope, I'm focusing on my relationship, maybe it would still be a thing, but I wasn't willing to do that. I knew what I wanted to do. I set out to do it because it's who I am and what I know, like, is good for me. It's what got me to this point before the relationship. And, hindsight 2020, making those realizations after the fact, like, okay, maybe a little bit of that part of me was a detriment to the situation, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's hard. It's hard to, like I said before at the beginning, when we have our head down, sometimes we don't see the big picture.
If you don't learn anything positive from those experiences and come out better, I mean, in all reality, you should learn something about yourself that you can carry forward in a positive manner for sure.
Yeah.
If I knew all the things I know now, when 10 years ago, whew, man, the last 10 years would have been amazing. I would have been rich. I wouldn't have had any problems with relationships. Oh, yeah.
It was great getting to talk to you tonight. I really appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing a little bit about yourself. And if you want to, before we head out, if you want to share your social media or any way that people can get in contact with you, you can go ahead and do that.
Yep. So Instagram, TikTok, The Confidence Coach. Instagram is Keegan Odell. You can search those, pay attention to them. I actually have a website and Facebook group coming pretty quickly. So that's where I'm at right now.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.